first Planet of the Apes movies where they're on the beach. Where did you film that?
That was Point Doom. There was a little section just beyond the rocks that they were able to make a road for, and right beyond that is where we filmed, so that we were out of the public eye, you know. But it was a beautiful area. We flew every morning from 20th Century Fox in a helicopter to Point Doom, because the makeup took so long and the traffic and everything, you know, was horrendous. That was Heston's idea.
And did you have any concerns about wearing that makeup outside? Were there things that you had to be concerned about sunlight, or was it pretty sunproof?
No, the only problem I had, there was a dust storm on the beach at one day, and Roddy and I both got sand in our, you know, in the eyes, and we had to stop for about 4 hours while they cleared all that. But, you know, it's like all these guys, I was really just thrilled to be working. And the script was so fabulous that it was an honor to be a part of that.
Now, Don mentioned that the actors in ape makeup had to have their lunch using a straw. Is that true? You couldn't have solid food? You had to...
Yes, either straws or chopsticks. That, you know, very slowly, because after lunch there was another half hour of makeup, you know, to reaffix that.
Oh, sure. And then after you're done for the day, how long would it take you to get back to normal?
You never got back to normal. They were kind enough to give us an hour to take the makeup off every day, because they had to put it back on the next day and they wanted to save it. But years later, when I did Bagel for the Planet of the Apes, the first day of work of makeup was just like the last day. It just continued. There was no rest time at all. You know, it was amazing.
Okay, we'll open up to some questions. This gentleman right here in the front.
Every day, and I tried to pick up mannerisms, and I worked out a walk. And the first day on the stage, when I was about to film the sequence where I break Heston out of the cage, you know, out of the cage there, Mr. Shafton, he had a dressing room on the set, and he called me in, and Roddy was there, and he said, Roddy has worked out a walk, and he wants to show it to you. And I said, okay. And he did the walk for me, and it was exactly what I discovered myself. So it was, that was my city in school.
Actually, we have to move on to the questions. Yep.
More production, and eventually you couldn't have a film without a car chase. Remember those days? And then it escalated from there. And it's just quite different. And probably rightly so, it should be different. It's known as progression.
I think even television has become better than it was in the 60s, I think. What you see on HBO and what you see on Showtime and what have you, some fantastic stuff. Absolutely fantastic stuff. So I think there has been indeed a progression, and it has gradually improved. Obviously you have to add that some films they make these days, that are pure action films or whatever, dreadful. But I mean, look at the films that they showed now for the Academy Awards. Some damn good films.
I think one of the main things that they did better back in those days is they didn't have the advantage, which I think has become a disadvantage, of computerized images. Everything you saw back in those days was real. And it took a lot of more imagination to do it that way. It took a lot more courage. it's much more dangerous to create things really than to somebody sitting at a computer and playing. And I think, for instance, I get totally turned off by potentially great stories, like they have this wonderful film out now about the Black Airmen. But you see those World War II planes coming in, and they're all computerized, and it looks like you're watching a video game. And to me, it destroys all sense of reality. I think that's one thing that they did have better those days than I have today.
Thank you all for coming here. And my question for Don, originally Conquest was very violent, and they recut it. So I was wondering, do you prefer the theatrical cut or the original cut?
Well, the thing that, excuse me, let me repeat the question. The question was, Conquest was originally very violent and was recut to make it less violent. Is that what you basically said? So we're getting a comment from Mr. Murray.
Well, the two versions that I've actually seen, and they have both that are around someplace, and it's not that one was suppressed or anything like that. What happened, as far as the violence that I know about, which is the Conquest scene where the apes take over, and when I played Governor Brecht, it ends with Governor Brecht being killed. The apes kill Governor Brecht. And you see that in the film. They don't get terribly graphic like today's, the way you've seen it, but it's pretty violent. And they decided after they finished the film, they decided they wanted to bring Governor Brecht back again. So they recut the scene so Brecht did not die, and they had Rodney McDowell do a speech about tolerance, in which he tells his 8 cohorts to spare Brecht. But they hadn't asked me at that time whether I wanted to come back. And so when they asked me to come back and do the role of Brecht again, I said, no, I didn't want to do it. They said, why not? And I said, because I've already played that part. What I like to do is, every movie, I like to do something just the opposite. So that's what I did. I didn't do that. So what they did is they made 2 versions of the film, and the latest one, I think they went back to where Brecht dies, and where Brecht dies, that's the most violent one.
I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to, Don, you want to just take a couple words about your new film?
It's a film that takes place mostly underwater. It's a true life adventure of a great underwater cinematographer named Tom Campbell from up in Santa Barbara. And it was written by my son, Michael Murray, and it comes from his experience because he was a diver on the largest Spanish galleon ever sunk on the Treasure Coast, down off the coast of Ecuador. And my son Sean did a fabulous music score for it. And it takes place in, actually, again, we don't use any computerized images. That's where we're old-fashioned. And when we have great white sharks that the actors confront, those are real great white sharks. When we have them caught in these underwater caves where they're so tight that...
For the last 32 years, I've been doing the soap. Called The Young and the Restless. And then a little while ago I did a film with George Kennedy called The Man Who Came Back, about the second part of the 19th century in America, during the period of Reconstruction in the South, and when slaves were nominally freed after the Civil War, but in reality they perpetuated slavery by economic means. There you are.
And Austin?
Right now we're trying to get some pitch meetings with some ideas, a couple of scripts. This is my wife, Robin, standing out there watching me, has written, and we're trying to get some pitches going on them right now. Television and 1 feature film. That's right.
Hey, Jim?
Well, I have a film out right now, traveling around the country slowly, called Footprints. It premiered at the Chinese, And right now I'm going to be, I think in March, I'm doing a Russian film. It's being shot in Russia, but there's a big sequence that takes place in Los Angeles, and I'll be very involved in that.
And Lou, finally.
I'm doing a recurring role on Raising Hope, appropriately on the Fox network. I just want to say real quickly what a beautiful print this was, too.
Thank you all very, very much. One more word.
I don't want to take up too much time, but I must say that on Breathe 2, you see a fabulous performance by my son Christopher Murray, one of the divers, and Nick was one of the main divers. But Christopher Murray, and if you ever get a chance to see a film called Just Cause, you see Christopher play a marvelous heavy opposite the famous Scotsman. All of a sudden I remember Sean Connery, yes. If you get a chance to see that, that's a splendid film, and Christopher plays a terrific for being that.
Next, we're going to show the second Planet of the Apes movie, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Thank you.
And I'd like to get, we have an astronaut and an ape here all. That was like. Thank you so much. I'm alert.